Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Professor Anime, and welcome back to, yet again, another Inuyashiki episode review. This is going to be on episodes 7 and 8 that I will be discussing in today's review. I didn't really get to do a review for episode 7 because of the Thanksgiving week and whatnot, but here I am today to bring you episodes 7 and 8. So without further ado, let us begin. So, in episode 7 of Inuyashiki, what we got from last week's episode is that we get to see a change of Hiro, of, what exactly he is going on doing to people. Usually we would go to see him out killing people, but in this episode we don't see him kill anyone whatsoever. And that is because he comes up with the decision to actually save people. Save people who are in need, who are on the verge of death, who are about to die. But the thing about this is that Hiro doesn't necessarily decide this for himself. He's not simply doing this for the kindness of his heart. He's not doing this out of his own will. He is simply doing this just for the girl who took him in. The girl who has the grandmother and that is keeping Hiro at their little apartment, so to speak. Keeping Hiro away from the police and stuff like that. And regarding this girl, she's kind of annoying because she's so, blinded by love, because she does have a crush on Hiro. She does. And she's doing all this for Hiro. She was even in denial in this episode. She did not want to believe that Hiro was the killer, or in fact, beyond human, a machine, But eventually, even though she finds this out, she still cares for the guy in this same way. I mean, damn, like, you got strong feelings for him. I understand that, but hey, whatever. But anyways, as I was saying, Hiro did not decide this out of the kindness of his heart whatsoever. He is simply just doing this for the sake of the girl. And even, when it came down, to him actually just exposing himself onto who he truly, was to her, he was about to kill her on the spot when he took her up flying, if you guys remember that in episode 7. But the thing about this is that she eventually convinced him to, save people, to try to redeem himself, because she was saying that nothing can possibly be done for the acts that you have committed. If anything, she just wants Hiro to be redeemed, in a way. And this is where the topic of the episode comes about, to where, can Hiro truly redeem himself from the amount of people he saves, opposed to the amount of people that, he has killed in the past. And me personally, I don't think he can. I mean, in my personal mindset, if you have committed heinous acts in the past and you just try to justify those actions by turning over a new leaf, I mean, sure, that is all good and all, but you still need to be punished for the acts that you have committed in the past. So this really will depend on the individual as to how you guys feel about this, but, we'll just see where it goes from here. Me personally, I don't know if I can forgive the guy for killing an entire family, or, more people than, we have probably seen on screen. But anyways, throughout that entire episode, episode 7, we don't necessarily see Hiro kill off anyone whatsoever. We actually see him saving lives instead. He's actually saved so many lives, from people who have various diseases, cancer and stuff like that. He actually saved so much to the point into which, as weeks gone by, or days gone by, we have it to where people are starting to forget about Hiro in a way, and they start to think that, oh, I guess he might be dead. Maybe the police finally got him. I don't see any news reportings on killings and what have you, so what exactly happened to him? And an interesting thing to bring up, not only the topic of, Hiro actually redeeming himself, can he possibly redeem himself by saving other people, despite the fact that he has, killed countless families and stuff like that, Despite that factor, another topic that you can actually bring up that is worth discussing is that with the people that he has saved, they're gonna know who exactly he is. I mean, granted, you know, we did see Hiro have a hoodie on and whatnot to where, you know, it was covering most of his face, but I mean, he was looking directly at the individuals that he was going up to, you know, helping them cure them, you know, so they probably would have seen his face. You know, it's not like he kept his head down the whole entire time, but it really does bring up the question if some of these individuals later on in the series will actually see Hiro as a hero in their eyes, despite the fact that he has killed thousands and he is an enemy of the country, necessarily. Even the whole entire government is going after him. So it's like, who do you believe? So now we're heading on to episode 8 right here. So as we saw at the end of episode 7, the SWAT team eventually arrives at Hiro's location and surrounds the building in which, you know, Hiro is staying at with the girl and, of course, the grandmother. And the SWAT team begins to light up fire onto him, you know. Now, eventually, Hiro does escape in the process along with the girl and the grandmother. However, they are shot in the process. We actually see them lose blood and whatnot. I'm very surprised that the grandmother lived, though. I'm very surprised because, as you know, find out on the later half of this episode, you actually see them again, you know, when in the beginning of the episode, you see them on the floor, sprawled out in blood, and also, you know, Hiro takes them out of the house. You know, he's holding their hands. So, by holding their hands, he is obviously healing them, because remember, Inuyashiki and Hiro have the ability to actually heal those who are on the verge of death, which is something that was brought up in the last episode, episode 7. So, when it came down to the grandmother and, of course, the girl, it looks like they were about to bleed out, but with the help of Hiro, he actually saved their lives. I'm just very surprised that the grandmother lived, though, because, I mean, at, you know, that age that she's at, and if you lose pretty much a good amount of blood from that, I mean, you're pretty much down for the count, you know, because it's harder for your body to repair, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just very surprised, you know, that the grandmother lived, but then again, this is, you know, Hiro we're talking about, and Inuyashiki we're talking about. They have a different kind of healing method regarding the technology that is implemented into their bodies. Now, apparently, we also find out in this episode that there is an apparent asteroid that is, you know, in the general direction of Japan that is hurtling towards it. And if it is to enter Earth's atmosphere, it will basically cause chaos and leave, you know, masses, and I mean massive amount of damage. So there is an asteroid that is going to take place. So this is where I'm thinking, you know, where the series could go. Okay, now I'm not really sure about Inuyashiki, but if Hiro is to have any sort of redemption, I'm assuming possibly on how exactly this series could go about. I mean, as I said, I'm not sure about how Inuyashiki is going to fit in all of this. You know, eventually these two are going to collide and, you know, fight it off between one another, which is going to be pretty cool. Hoping to see that at least. But, you know, regarding this asteroid, I'm assuming by how Inuyashiki might end, it might end off with Hiro, or possibly even Inuyashiki and Hiro working together to stop the asteroid that is hurling towards Earth. And they will stop it in the process, but in turn, they will both be, you know, killed off by it. They will both be decimated, you know, from its impact. But in turn, they will save everyone, you know, regarding on Earth. And in a way, this could, in fact, be Hiro's redemption. But how exactly Hiro is going to change his mind in all of this is going to be something, you know, very interesting to see, because just what we see at the end of episode 8 with him killing almost the entirety of, you know, the police task force, you know, it was just like, whoa, okay, Hiro means business. It's like, how do you compete against someone like that? You know, like, he literally almost killed off everyone in the city. You know, I think honestly only like one guy survived or something like that he let live. So I was like, yo. So when it comes down to him actually deciding if he actually does want to help humanity, you know, I'm very curious on how that's going to play out, because he decided to himself that he wants to kill everyone within the country in episode 7. So I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm just going off my speculation and predictions. This is just my personal thoughts. And I think really the last bit that needs to be said about this episode of Inuyashiki is that we actually find out that the daughter is apparently And I think the last episode... And I think the last thing that needs to be said about this episode of Inuyashiki is that we find out that the daughter begins to find out that Inuyashiki is in fact a cyborg, and she knows that, you know, one of the classmates that she has in her class, which happens to be, you know, Hiro's former friend, you know, who actually has a crush on Inuyashiki's daughter, you know, is working, you know, with Inuyashiki in the process. You know, so, you know, this is very interesting because, you know, not only does, you know, one of his relatives know, but this also can be very problematic in the future if Hiro is to, you know, find out about this. He can use Inuyashiki's daughter to his advantage, and this would make things very personal for Inuyashiki in the process. So I'm very interested on how exactly that is going to play about, and, you know, in this episode, we actually kind of, you know, we're getting hints at the fact that she possibly might tell someone that her father is in fact a, you know, cyborg. But she knows that deep down inside, I believe, that her father is a very, very kind person. Especially, you know, from when we got that little flashback of, you know, her father and her as a child. And, you know, when he was first starting to, you know, become very, very ill, she was crying that she didn't want him to die. So we know that, you know, deep down inside, she does care about her father. And, you know, one of her biggest aspirations in life is to actually be a manga artist, which is actually pretty cool. And, you know, the mother in the Inuyashiki family was very opposed to her, you know, becoming a manga artist. Not necessarily opposed to, but she basically wanted her to at least, you know, have a plan B, which is something that honestly everyone should have. You know, you're always going to have your plan A, what you truly want, but you should also focus on a plan B just in case, you know, plan A doesn't go full with it, you know. But when it comes down to Inuyashiki, when he eventually learns about that, you know, her daughter has been creating manga ever since elementary school, you know, he's like, let's at least finish high school. If you can finish high school with, you know, a good track record, I'm all for you actually following up with your dream. And this is what actually motivates her to not tell anyone that Inuyashiki is, in fact, actually a cyborg. So, yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, I think that's really all that needs to be said regarding these episodes of Inuyashiki. You know, I personally think that episode 8 I enjoyed a lot more than episode 7, as there was a lot more content in episode 8, but then again in episode 7, you know, episode 7 was kind of like the building blocks for episode 8, so to speak, and it really did focus on Hiro and him just, you know, going about trying to save people and stuff like that, which was cool to see. But we did know, I mean, it was kind of obvious that eventually something is in fact or was going to happen, you know, to the girl that he was staying with, and in turn this would cause him to go on a massive killing spree, which is what we saw in episode 8. So yeah, knowing that the stakes have now been raised because of the fact that, you know, the Japanese task force now knows exactly what they're dealing with. They are dealing with someone, you know, that is beyond human. You know, they're gonna start pulling out the big guns. They're gonna start pulling out everything they can, you know, or they're gonna need someone who is like Hiro to stop Hiro. So this is probably where Inuyashiki is gonna fit in the plate. But we'll see how working with, you know, a cyborg is going to go, you know, working out, you know, trying to kill off another cyborg. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm just speculating, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you guys think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.